was reminded by the leader of government business when he sang a song that says, "Boys in danger." It was recognized then that boys were going down a road that would end up in the worst of circumstances if we did not heed the calls and do what was necessary in order to deal with what would be the eventual outcome, which we are seeing some of it today, Madam Speaker. And so this cannot be dealt with just from a law enforcement perspective. And I think the CARICOM last year, where I was a strong proponent because of my background as a medical doctor and one who had worked tirelessly hard in the community to save lives and to help people to take the right path, that I supported strongly that approach to deal with the issue of not just crime, but violence as well, Madam Speaker, in St. Kitts and Nevis and throughout the Caribbean region. There are some sad statistics that I always speak of. The Caribbean is mainly a peaceful region. The vast majority of people in the Caribbean region, we are peaceful, we promote good living. But among us, there are those who don't espouse those values, Madam Speaker. And that is why it is important that we address even that from a comprehensive perspective, a perspective that we deem and call from a public health perspective, Madam Speaker. And so the Caribbean had been identified as having issues with interpersonal violence. And I've been speaking about it over and over again, not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, but through the Caribbean, and that we have to address it as a region because none of us can do it alone, Madam Speaker. The interpersonal violence, sometimes it is glorified because here in St. Kitts and Nevis we have sayings like, "Abusing ain't got no rules. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." Let me bust a face now. Things that we say and accept as normal, but are considered, of course, violent acts. Not all violent acts lead to crime, because that is a specific definition. However, they can lead to crime. Madam Speaker, over this last year, I've been meeting with what I will term a national group to deal with the issue of violence, not just crime. We have had, every week we hold National Security Council meeting, and nightly there's an update as to what is taking place, Madam Speaker. But we also would have put together a task force to deal with violence and crime from a public health perspective. And I've said one of the main advisors or consultant is Dr. Isben Williams, based on his training and what he would have identified. So these measures that we are putting in place are not reactionary at all, but we recognize we are supposed to have responses or solutions that deal with the immediate situation, to deal with issues in the intermediate time frame or the medium time frame, and those for longer time frames, dealing with what would have to be a generational shift in how we operate here in St. Kitts and Nevis. In other words, to shift the culture, Madam Speaker. And those meetings have been taking place. And just recently I met with the Nevis Christian Council. I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday. I also had meetings with the Chamber of Commerce and Industry right here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Today I think a meeting was being set up for me to meet with another group. And the reason why I'm meeting with all of these interest groups as the Prime Minister is to sensitize these groups and their members that this government, that we are going to bring all of society together, government, opposition, those who are secular, those who are religious, those in sports, whatever field you are found in, we want you to be a part of this all of society approach, Madam Speaker. And it's not an all of society approach just for a moment, Madam Speaker. It has to be an all of society approach forever. For as long as we exist as a people, we must always have the society all hands on deck to deal with the issue of citizen security, Madam Speaker. This cannot be a political issue. It cannot be politicized. And I warned then, when I was in Trinidad and Tobago, that it cannot be seen as a political football, that all of our people need to come together to deal with this scourge in the Caribbean, Madam Speaker. So what is happening here is not strange to me. What is happening here is not something that one would not expect if one were to study Caribbean societies and all of the scientific data with where we were heading as a region. And Madam Speaker, at that forum or symposium, we spoke about many things and how we should approach it, Madam Speaker. Just recently at the CARICOM meeting, which took place just a few days ago, this was on the agenda. As Prime Minister after Prime Minister spoke to the issues dealing with the matters to do with violence and crime, seeking for common solutions so that we can work together, pool our resources, and come up with common sense responses to what we are dealing with. Madam Speaker, it continues to be high on the agenda of CARICOM. And so, Madam Speaker, we are now in the stage where we are sensitizing all of the major stakeholders across St. Kitts and Nevis. We are at the stage where we are getting ready to roll out a new department of government that will deal with what we call citizen security. I think it might be one of the first departments in the whole CARICOM to deal with the matter. The reason why I'm not dealing with it that way, and the reason why we are dealing with it that way, is because we think that the solutions have to stretch over generations, that the solutions have to be comprehensive, that the solutions have to respond to the realities, Madam Speaker. And we know that within the people, there are always solutions. We just have to bring the people together and allow the solutions to rise. Madam Speaker, I can say further that we are planning, as I've discussed over and over, for national consultation to deal with the issue of crime, violence, and human security, or citizen security here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so we are putting that plan together, which we know would be in full effect in short order. But we continue to work it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me also say, we just announced that we will have an expanded mental health policy or program rather here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We just signed an MOU with the Republic of China, Taiwan, because we know that mental health is linked to the issue of violence, is linked to the issue of drug abuse. And so all of these are being looked at, and that will be a massive federal-wide program, which will include, of course, our counterparts from the island of Nevis. And so, Madam Speaker, these are comprehensive programs that, of course, require a lot of resources. But I've always contended that if the Caribbean is to deal with this issue, it has to be dealt with from a societal perspective, it has to be deep, and it has to be comprehensive. And we cannot look for any shortcuts or any quick fix, because the quick fixes, Madam Speaker, can lead to worse situations. Madam Speaker, it's not easy to be speaking to this matter, but I've decided that I will take on this matter. I've dealt with this matter from a particular perspective, and I know that our society can have good results if we apply what we are supposed to apply, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, I want to say to the country again that all the stakeholders are being sensitized. that all will be brought to the table to have meaningful discussion. And from those consultations to have meaningful solutions to deal with the issue of crime and violence here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course, our part in the region. But Madam Speaker, let me say that from a law enforcement perspective, a lot has been done and much has been invested, Madam Speaker. I spoke about the canine unit and reviving the canine unit. We had to get specialized dogs that cost, of course, a lot of money, Madam Speaker. We have also strengthened our mobile unit with the purchasing of a significant number of automobiles. We have also, from this perspective, strengthened our laws, Madam Speaker, that I presented here in this honorable House. We have increased our young people, opportunities for our young people from many different perspectives, to join community groups, Madam Speaker, to be a part of cadets, of scouts, of school organizations, Madam Speaker, that are geared to instilling in them good principles, the ideals that they should have, so that their behavior can be in accordance with what we want here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Madam Speaker, we have expanded our sports program so that children can have more opportunities for sports. We have made school free, Madam Speaker, free from preschool, where mothers are given support, but definitely free from primary school all the way up to college, Madam Speaker. So young people do not have to drop out of school early because the parents can't afford school. In St. Kitts and Nevis, school is free. Madam Speaker, we have also made sure that all children have full access to medical care, Madam Speaker, so that they don't fall through